Hi guys, it's Robin with Boutonniere Florist in Vancouver, Canada. I have another tutorial for you today, and this is on how to make a very rustic boutonniere. So if you've watched our other boutonniere video, you're going to recognize a lot of these supplies and some of the same methods, but in case this is your first time, I'm just going to go over quickly what we're going to use. So I'm just going to put this aside for now and go over the supplies. We have 26 gauge straight wire. For this one, I really recommend a fine wire like 26 or 28. I think 22 is going to be a bit too thick for this. So if you can get your hands on this, that would be the best. I have my wire cutters just to cut the wire because I don't like using my regular scissors. And I have stem wrap, which is that papery floral wrap that only sticks to itself when you stretch it. So those are the supplies you're gonna need in terms of what I'm using today to make a rustic boutonniere. So in general, when you wanna make a rustic boutonniere, it's a lot of filler. So, you know, a traditional boutonniere might be a single rose with a little bit of baby's breath. A rustic boutonniere would be mostly baby's breath with maybe a little bit of an accent of some greens or some berries. So what I have today, and we've used some of this before, so you're gonna recognize it if you've gone through our archive. I've got waxflower, fantastic choice for any sort of a rustic look. It's mostly available year-round. There are certain times of the year when it's hard to get, but for the most part year-round. Very hardy, not really prone to wilting, excellent choice. I have Hairpin berries as well. Common name for these is coffee berry, year-round as well. It comes in a few different colors. Red and green are the easiest to find. This sort of peach or a coral color, a little bit more rare, not available every week, but a decent availability, I would say. And the third filler we have is something we haven't used yet, and it's called limonium. So it's a gorgeous rustic filler. It's sort of a silvery lavender almost, and I'm going to show you what one bunch looks like, but for now I've just cut off little branches. And in terms of what we're going to do, we're going to mix a couple of these textures together, but it's also an awesome choice to do like just a limonium boutonniere. It looks great. I mean, we're going to add more to it, like I said, but if that's what you did, I mean, look how beautiful that looks. I think this is almost like a step above a baby's breath boutonniere, which is also an excellent choice if you like that kind of a look, but this is a little bit more different and a little bit more rustic looking. So in terms of a bunch of limonium, what it looks like, so that's a bunch that we sell. I don't know if that's what your florist would get for you, but that's a typical bunch. And all of the branches are multi-branch. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna cut off the little individual stems like this and make a little cluster. So you don't need too many, maybe 5 or 6, depending on the amount of limonium you want in your finished product. My limonium I have here today is from a couple of weeks ago when we did our boutonniere demo in Vancouver. So it is a little older, which is why it's shedding. It shouldn't shed so much, but I wanted to hang on to it to show you guys how to make a boutonniere with it, because I do think it's a very underrated filler. So let's bring that back. So if you've watched our other boutonniere video, you would know the importance of wiring. So wiring is when you create an artificial wire stem onto a flower or some greens or some filler. So we're going to do that with the limonium. We're not going to do it with the wax. We're going to do it with the hypericum. So you don't always have to wire, but I find if you're not going to wire, the most common time not to wire is when you're working with fillers, because as you can see, they have really slender stems. But in this case, we are going to wire the limonium. I'm just trying to find a good cluster. So that's pretty good. So you can see here right underneath where I'm pinching it, it's kind of a little bit long. So I'm going to trim it so they're a little bit shorter. And now I have this little clump here, but I want to make this a little bit longer. So that's where my wire comes in handy. I cut a piece that's about 4 to 5 inches long like this. I'm going to put it parallel to that. So it's going to be like this. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit higher like this. And where I'm pinching it, I'm going to twist this upper half of the wire around. So it's really going to secure that cluster together. So now I've got the 2 ends of the wires pointing down, and I'm going to tape it to secure it. I'm going to trim it a little shorter. It's a little bit too long. Okay, so you take your tape, very top where the wire starts, where it twisted around, stretch it. Start turning that little cluster of limonium around while you pull with this. So you're twisting with this hand, pulling with this one. And eventually you're going to cover the entire wire. And that's good. So we're done with that. So like I said, that could be your finished boutonniere. Fantastic, gorgeous. We're going to add a little bit more. I don't feel like wiring the wax. I'm just going to put a little bit in. And it's not a lot, like the little stem is really thin. So I'm just going to lay it kind of on top. And already it's looking really nice and very rustic. So I'm going to tape that We're almost done, guys. This is a really easy one to put together. And again, you could stop here. I've done waxflower with limonium before. It's a fantastic look. I happen to have these sort of peach hypericum. I thought, why not add one more dimension to that boutonniere? So for the hypericum, I'm just gonna do a little bit, like just a touch at the front. So for this one, I'm gonna use in another video I called the hairpin method. So this is when you take your 4 to 5 inch piece of wire again, make it into a little hairpin like this. Looks like this. You hang it from one of those side branches because hypericum has these little side branches. Again, you've trimmed it really short. And then you twist one of those legs around like that. So it's nice and secure, it's not wiggling around. And you tape it. Again, starting at the top. This is the hardest part for most people. But you will get the hang of it, especially if you're making a few boutonnieres that have like quite a few components. You'll do it just over and over again, and it'll become second nature. So we trim that short, and that's the last bit we're gonna add on to our boutonniere. I'm gonna trim this leg shorter because I want the finished product to be quite slim, and I don't need both of them to be that long. And we're gonna tape it all together. Hang on a second. Like with any kind of a boutonniere you make, this has to go in the fridge now that you're done. You can make this 1 to 2 days before your wedding, and you should. And when it's done, you put it in a sealed container in a regular refrigerator. You take it out the day of your wedding. Don't forget pins for your boutonnieres. There's a lot of really good videos on YouTube on how to pin a boutonniere, so definitely check those out beforehand. I trimmed it a little shorter. And we're done. That was super easy to put together. A really cute little rustic boutonniere. You could do, like I said, baby's breath with wax or with berries. There's a ton of combinations. So this is a fun one to do. I find rustic boutonnieres are one of my favorite sort of style to do because it always comes together. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, email me at info@boutonniere.com. And otherwise, I will see you next time.